Will you subpoena McCabe and Rosenstein to appear?
How can I not, if that's what it takes? I know he's selling a book, and we need to take with a grain of salt maybe what Mr. McCabe is telling us. We're going to find out what happened here, and the only way I know to find out is to call the people in under oath and find out, through questioning, who's telling the truth, because the underlying accusation is beyond stunning.
So there was Senator Lindsey Graham from CBS on Sunday morning, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, vowing to open his own investigation after the Andrew McCabe interview on 60 Minutes. New York Republican Peter King is on the House Homeland Security Committee. Sir, how you doing? And welcome back to our program here. I got a bunch of questions. Before I get to those, go ahead and tell me what you thought about this last night. What did you learn, and what is left still hanging on the tree?
I think we learned, if anything, you can't believe what Andy McCabe says. And also, I think what was probably bothered me the most was that Scott Pelley didn't seem stunned by this, that somehow they were carrying on a discussion as if this was an ordinary political event or an ordinary governmental event. I mean, this is probably the first time in the history of the country that you had top law enforcement officers, in effect, seeing how they could remove the president of the United States. And the fact that when Rosenstein, whether he said it or not, but even if he was joking, he said it as a joke, wearing a wire in the Oval Office and meeting with the president, you would have thought that would have shocked everyone in the room. They would have got up and left. I mean, can you imagine if this had happened to Barack Obama, or if Hillary Clinton were president, or Bernie Sanders, or anyone? So I think that's what bothered me the most, was that it seems to be part of our culture now that you can discuss in a quote-unquote rational way removing the President of the United States, the duly elected President of the United States, by a small group of people.
So just trying to pick up your observation here. You're saying that it should have been more pushback once he makes those statements,
yes,
or greater clarification, or what were you looking for?
I would say both. Both. An absolute. I mean, do you realize what you're saying? Can you believe? You expect the American people to accept this? And asking McCabe, how could he have sat there through this type of conversation, forgetting the wire, that's bad enough, but just the idea that they would be sitting in a room talking about the possible removal of the President of the United States. And what was the basis for it? The fact that Jim Comey was fired. The President had the absolute legal right to fire Jim Comey. And that he was saying that there was so much tension in the room. Well, that shows how self-important these people are, because their boss was fired. They think that they should consider removing a President of the United States. And also the fact that he said he was going to start the investigation then. Well, you don't start investigations until it's a crime, not because you think that maybe the president was thinking the wrong thing. I mean, the fact is that there was no legal basis for what he did. And even if, forgetting the president, if this had been anyone, to me, that didn't justify starting an investigation.
Okay, you
doing it against the President of the United States.
We've got that portion queued up here. This is the part asked about wearing the wire into the White House. Watch.
Yeah. We talked about why the president had insisted on firing the director, and whether or not he was thinking about the Russia investigation, and did that impact his decision. And in the context of that conversation, the Deputy Attorney General offered to wear a wire into the White House. He said, I never get searched when I go into the White House. I could easily wear a recording device. They wouldn't know it was there.
Oh, that's there. Rod Rosenstein denies this, by the way. And after we got the first clip at the end of last week, the spokeswoman, Melissa Schwartz for Andrew McCabe, put out a statement. And this is what the statement reads, sir, on screen. To clarify, at no time did Mr. McCabe participate in any extended discussions about the use of the 25th Amendment, nor is he aware of any such discussions. Well, I'm left confused after that statement. Who actually did what, when, how was it characterized? And that leads us to Lindsey Graham's call for testimony on the Hill to figure this out. Help us understand or clarify who's telling the truth, who's lying, and how far did this go or did it not?
Well, I, first of all, totally agree with Lindsey. He has to go ahead and have a hearing on this, and to see, they talk about the mindset of the president. What was their mindset? I mean, as soon as Rosenstein said, and now McCabe said he thinks that Rosenstein was serious. If he thought he was serious about wearing a wire into the office of the President of the United States, McCabe should have considered locking Rosenstein up, or should have gone immediately and said that Rosenstein should be removed from office. The fact that you would actually talk seriously, even for 5 seconds or 10 seconds, to have at that time the #2 person in the Justice Department, to have him seriously talk about wearing a wire to violate the privacy of the President of the United States and the most sensitive, important meetings is absolutely disgraceful. So, yeah, I think everyone who's in that room should be put under oath, should be questioned, should be asked what were they thinking, what right do they have, what arrogance do they have, where do they think they have the authority to launch an investigation of the United States, of the President of the United States. To me, this goes back to when this investigation started during the campaign. There was no basis then to start the investigation. It was done. This was there. President, if anyone gets benefited by this, it's President Trump. When he says drain the swamp, people think, oh, he's exaggerating. It's a figure of speech. Well, if you have people at the highest levels of the FBI and the Justice Department talking about removing the President of the United States, that just justifies everything the President said about this.
I want to add just two more things here, and I got to run here, but this was 4 months after the Trump Tower
Sure.
meeting when James Comey came to New York and talked about the dossier. So that's still in the back of the mind of the President. Keep that in mind. The other thing I would just suggest is that McCabe said they were counting heads on the cabinet as to who would vote for it or against it. But when pushed on that, he did not identify who was for it or who was against it or what the total was. So McCabe's telling of the story clearly suggests that this was part of their discussion, Sarah. Last word on that. I got to run here.
Yeah, to me, they should find out who those two were and find out what was going on, if there really were two. And again, the discussions, and as far as that Trump Tower meeting, I don't even know if, in fact, I'm almost positive when the investigation was begun the previous September, the FBI had no knowledge of the Trump Tower meeting, and there's no indication to this day that President Trump knew anything about it at any time.
Okay. Sir, thank you so much. Peter King there, Babylon, New York today. Thank you. We'll see you again real soon.
Thank you, Bill.